all of your favorite influencers are printing millions of dollars doing this. In fact, there are 3 specific things that all of these influencers that have been popping out of nowhere in the last 24 months are applying to build an audience from zero. And more importantly, putting millions in their bank account. I'm yet to come across a personal brand doing these 3 things that isn't printing truckloads of cash. Now, how do I know this? Because I use this exact same strategy myself. In fact, I was kind of the one who created it. I went from struggling to grow 10,000 subscribers in an entire year to growing 1.3 million the year after, and then 2.5 million in the next 12 months, and printing tens of millions of dollars while doing so. Now, one thing is a fact. There is simply no other personal brand that has had faster growth than mine on this side of the internet. And I'm actually about to reveal to you a 3-pillar content system that I've used that honestly, most of your favorite influencers have tried and failed to copy ever since. And I'm gonna show you behind the curtains of how I became the fastest growing channel on this side of the internet, and even show you some of the metrics behind some of my most successful YouTube videos down to the dollar of how much they generated. But the best part of it all is this. You see, just a few months ago, YouTube has had a huge change in their algorithm. Now, you've probably noticed it yourself. When you look on your home feed, YouTube is now recommending you videos with 200, 300, sometimes even less than 100 views. So the algorithm now favors smaller channels over bigger ones, which is allowing brand new personal brands to get tens of thousands of followers faster than was ever possible before. In their own words.
Yeah, so we have a team that is specifically focused on this challenge of trying to identify audiences for creators that are just getting started, for videos that we don't have a lot of information about. We want to help those creators be successful.
They have now dedicated a team working to give small channels an unfair advantage to grow fast. And it's not only YouTube, so did Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. So this is kind of like divine timing, because there's never been a better time in history for you to start a personal brand. Now, just one warning. To be honest, I don't know how much longer it's gonna be like this. Algorithms change all the time. All I know is that it's never been better. And by the way, if you watch this video until the end, I'm gonna personally send you a content toolkit with every single template that I mentioned throughout this video. And with these tools, I've removed all of the guesswork from the process of starting a personal brand from zero and growing it to your first 1,000 followers in the next 12 weeks. So with no further ado, let's get into it. Your favorite influencers have something that they don't tell you. You see, most of them are broke, especially the ones with millions of followers. You know, the react channels, the streamers, the pranks, the vlogs, the challenge type videos. Now, yes, of course, there's outliers, there's streamers and prank channels that make millions of dollars, but I'm talking about the 99.99999%, because most of them hide behind these big numbers of subscribers and viewers, but behind the scenes, they simply bend over backwards to sponsors and take any brand deal that's thrown at them. That's really the only way that they can make money, is through sponsors. By the way, most of the time, which includes the shadiest type of stuff like online casinos and gambling, and all of that stems from one big issue. They do not know how to attract an audience that wants to buy from them. And to be honest, it really pisses me off the fact that most people look at them and then think that they too need to get millions of followers in order to make money online, which simply couldn't be further from the truth. Listen, before I reveal this whole 3-pillar system, you first need to understand what not to do. You do not want to play the entertainment game. You do not want to be the clown in front of the camera trying to entertain people like a dancing monkey in exchange for views. We're not here to make you famous, we're here to make you rich. And views and followers, they don't put money in your bank account. So right now, just forget all of that. There's a way to build your personal brand that focuses on making a ton of money and not on attracting millions of random people who just want to be entertained. This way, you only need a few thousand followers to make you kind of money. That is what these influencers who are printing millions today are doing. Take Alex Becker, for example. He has a secondary small channel where all he talks about is ads. Now, his videos get like an average of 10,000 views per video, and it might not look like much, but these views are what fuel his 9-figure tracking software for media buying called RICHEST, which just got partially acquired for $110 million. All he does to record these simple YouTube videos is sits down in his ugly office making ugly drawings on a virtual whiteboard and just talks about Facebook and Google ads. Then he runs retargeting ads to everyone who watches those videos, and he takes them to the simple basic page with a calendar on it to book a discovery call, which he then sells people into his software. Now, with this simple 3-step operation, he's made more than $100 million in his career. Now, to be honest, you don't even need to get to 10,000 views to print money with your personal brand. In fact, I know people with 1,000 to 2,000 subscribers who are making over $10,000 a month. Just like these guys right here that talk about scooping dog poop. And yes, you heard that right. They have 3,000 subscribers and are making 18 grand a month from their personal brand. And all of these guys are taking the exact same approach, which is simply creating what I call a micro personal brand. This is a personal brand with 1, 2, 5, maybe 10,000 followers who are highly interested in what you talk about and watch everything that you put out. A micro personal brand operates under a simple premise. One right follower is worth more than 1,000 wrong ones. And that's why the influencers making the most revenue per follower all have small micro personal brands. With this strategy, you can make more money than all the big viral influencers out there. A lot more. And you will never have to worry about money ever again. And by the way, that doesn't mean you can't get to millions of followers. I mean, just take a look at someone like Sam Sulek. He's not particularly charismatic. He has no crazy editing or anything along those lines. All he does is he educates his audience. And this is the principle of everything that we're going to cover today, which is providing value. And there's really 3 ways that you can do that: documentation, opening someone's eyes, and education. And if you look at what Sam is doing, that's exactly it. He shows you what he's doing in the gym. He documents his training. He educates you by showing, what he's done for his workout of the day, so on and so forth. And by doing that, he's grown to millions of subscribers. Now, obviously, I've grown to millions of subscribers myself. Now, the thing you need to understand here is that you don't need millions of followers to be successful with this. You need to understand that views and subs are not the metric we use to judge our success. Instead, we judge it off of how much money our personal brand is putting in our pocket. So let me show you how all these guys I mentioned apply 3 specific pillars to their personal brand that if you apply them as well, you will never have to worry about money ever again in your life. Now, applying these 3 pillars generated me 7 million followers across all my channels and over $108 million in career earnings. Now, there's also one thing you don't see here, which is in 2023, I went from 1.5 million to 4 million subs. The year before, I went from 180K to 1.5 million. Now, what do you think was the growth the year before that? Maybe from 80K to 180K, or maybe 40,000 to 180,000. Maybe I went from 10,000 to 180,000. You see, the year before that, I grew 10,000 subscribers. That's it. I went from 170K to 180K. Now, if I had 1,000 subscribers, that would be the equivalent of going from 1,000 to 1,100 the next year. From an account that size, that is horrible growth that I had. And it's not as if we weren't trying our hardest. I published 51 videos that year, virtually 1 a week. And it was so frustrating to see that growth curve going up so slowly that, to be honest, it almost looked like a flat line. And by the way, it took me 5 years to get to that 170,000 number in the first place. That's years and years longer than what it should take you to get to that number when you do things right. So I actually spent way more time failing than I did succeeding with this whole thing. And you know the funniest part of it all? The year I grew from 180,000 to 1.3 million subs, I published 52 videos, virtually the same as the year before. So with the same amount of work, I went from gaining 10,000 subscribers to gaining 1.3 million subs and then 4 million the year after. So what changed? What was the big shift? Did I get extremely good in front of camera all of a sudden? No, not at all. In fact, I actually suck at it. And to be honest, I'm still not really that good in front of camera. You might have even seen the video of me struggling in front of camera in one of our YouTube videos, like the raw videos that leaked.
Look, there is nothing more important.
I simply do my best in front of camera, and then I cut out the parts where maybe I struggle, I fumble over my words, and I just repeat it until I get it right. So in that case, you might be thinking, well, it was your insane editing or the production quality of your videos. Well, that can't be it either, because my most watched video is a slide presentation with black text and some emojis that literally an 11-year-old could create. So what changed? How did I go from taking 5 years to get to 100,000 subscribers and then growing more than any other YouTube channel in the industry in less than 2 years? The truth is, there is a method to this. And the year I went from growing 10,000 subscribers to 1.3 million, I simply started applying this method. And when I did so, I went from struggling to grow my audience base by 10% in a year to then growing it by almost 1,000% the year after. It's what I call the 3-pillar micro personal brand method. Now, most importantly, with this method, all it takes for you to succeed is one piece of content. You are always one video away from creating a multi-million-dollar personal brand. You see, that's exactly what happened to me. This single video got me 10 million views, 130,000 subscribers, and $266,000 in AdSense revenue. And by the way, that's only 1% of what this video actually put in my pocket, because I was selling a product at the end of it. It built a 9-figure brand off the back of it. And by the way, it's not just me. Peter McKinnon, who's one of the most famous photographers in the world today, he got his personal brand kicked off on the back of a single video as well. Or you can look at Veritasium. At 16 million subscribers, this dude has one of the biggest personal brands on YouTube, even though he talks about some of the most boring topics on earth, such as science, math, and physics. His breakthrough came came from a single video that you've probably watched yourself, where he throws a basketball off a dam. Now on pillar 3 of the method, I'll reveal how he created this video and the specific elements that got it to 57 million views. Long story short, many creators have had their big breakthrough just because they had one video. That one video changed the trajectory of their career. The good news is, doing it is actually quite simple when you follow this 3-pillar method. So if you want to start a successful personal brand, the first thing you need to do is to commit to this method. Because honestly, it just works. So watch this video as many times as it takes for you to understand each step, then ruthlessly apply it and ignore everything else. So with that being said, I'm about to arrive home. I'm going to present the rest of this inside of my office. So let me step out the car, head to the office, and then let's get into the real juicy technicals that all of your favorite gurus and influencers have been hiding from you. All right, so back home at my desk, and we can get into some of the more technical stuff. Now, the first pillar you need is content. And on episode 1, we already talked about why this is the biggest and most powerful leverage to create wealth in 2025. And there are really 3 elements that you need to have in place in order to create winning content. Now, by the way, this first pillar might sound a bit conceptual at first, but this is actually the deepest competitive advantage that you can have that, to be honest, you're not really going to hear from any other video out there. It's not going to be about thumbnails and titles and scripts like everyone else talks about when it comes to creating content. And we are going to cover that later, but to be honest, that's the easy part. That part only makes sense if you first understand the 3 elements of this pillar. So let's get on to the first one. Now, most people get stuck when it comes to creating content because they don't know what to talk about. So really, that's the first element you need to define, the topic of your channel. Now, the issue is people think they don't have anything valuable enough to share or worthwhile listening to. And to be honest, that couldn't be further from the truth, because 9 out of 10 of you watching already have some sort of expertise. You may not realize it, but you do. You know, if you have a job you're good at, you already have expertise. If you have a business, you already have some form of expertise. If you're a freelancer, you already have some form of expertise. If you run an agency, you already have some form of expertise. Now, you know what, for a second, let's even replace the word expertise, because maybe that might freak you out, and let's just replace it with experience, okay? Now, it may not be 20 years of experience, but all of you guys have experience. You have your own unique experience that resonates with other people. Now, if you don't have any previous work experience or previous knowledge, and you're not yet sure what your personal brand is gonna be about, don't worry. I know this might sound counterintuitive, but hear me out. You don't need to be an expert at the topic of your choice to create a successful personal brand. And I'm living proof of that. When I first got started on YouTube, I was 15 years old, and I was just posting about things that I was interested in: working out, marketing, videography. The book that I was reading at the time, I really was not an expert at any of those things. I was just a kid sharing his authentic experience. Now, as a few months went on, what did I do? I defined my topic of choice as digital marketing, even though I wasn't an expert at it. And then I shared my journey of learning that skill with my audience. And after just a few months of documenting my journey with digital marketing on YouTube, this is how fucking crazy this stuff is. I was getting paid thousands of dollars by clients and getting flown out to their countries to work on their marketing strategies. And back then, I was a teenager. I wasn't rich, I wasn't incredibly well-spoken or any sort of genius, and yet I was still getting paid 4-figure retainers and was in charge of multi-$100,000 worth of budget. All of that because one of the most effective formats of content is just documenting. And it works because it's genuine. Regardless of whether you have experience in a field or not, it shows the process, not the result. In the space of 9 months, I went from having zero knowledge about paid traffic, funnels, any sort of webinar. 9 months later, I'm getting paid double what someone gets paid in a month for a day's work. And people love to be a part of the journey. So not only is this the most powerful way of creating content, but also you can get started with it even if you have no skills whatsoever. A great example of this is there's a girl out there who talks about farmland, and it's been popping off lately. Now, crazy thing is she doesn't have any experience with farmland. She's not a farmer or anything like that. She actually used to talk about making money through Fiverr as a freelancer, and then completely shifted to talk about farmland and sustainable farming. And all she started doing was documenting the process of buying and developing her first farmland. And now she's literally getting millions of views of a highly qualified audience just doing that, even though she's not an expert at it. So you know what? Let's actually use this as our example topic of choice throughout this episode. Farmland. I like it because it's very exotic and it shows that this works with anything. It's not only for people talking about finances, business, or the usual stuff that most people go to when creating a personal brand. All you need to do is define your topic. And on episode 3, I'm going to show you how to choose the most profitable topics under any industry of your choice, but that's actually for Friday's episode. Now, the second element you need to define is the reason people are going to watch you. Now listen, this might be a little tricky to wrap your head around at first, but what you need to understand is that the best content is always created as a result of an internal conflict. It's actually what I call the 5-stage content cycle, and it all starts with the conflict that you experience. And this conflict will lead you to an internal pursuit, and the internal pursuit will lead you to take action, and that action will lead to a result, and that result can be transformed into content. So let me break this down again. You have conflict, internal pursuit, action, result, and then content. Now, the reason why I started to build my personal brand was as a resolution for my internal pursuit to solve my personal conflict, which was a very relatable situation. My father was unfortunately an alcoholic. My stepdad cut off me and my mom when we were 11. She was working minimum wage jobs, and that motivation of seeing my mom struggle to take care of me fueled me to go on this journey. So this content that you're watching right now actually comes from a conflict that I lived through, and the internal pursuit it led to, and the actions that I took after going through this internal pursuit, and the result that I got out of these actions. And this is the most powerful type of content because it attracts the exact type of person that I want to talk to. So if you're watching this right now, I know for a fact that we have very similar traits. And one of them is that you like watching this longer form with more in-depth content YouTube videos, which is what I like to do as well. Another thing is that you have this deep desire to achieve incredible success. So that way your future family is safe, protected. You create an environment that you didn't get to live through growing up. And by the way, that doesn't mean that you have to be homeless and living on the street. In fact, you could even come from a very wealthy family, but that still argued about money, and money still drove their life. So whatever your life circumstance, I know that if you watch my videos, there's a part of you that relates to either this feeling of loneliness. I grew up not only as an only child, but at school, I didn't really have too many friends. I think I could have made friends, but I just wasn't willing to be fake and pretend to care about the things that everyone else cared about. Some people call me cocky or full of myself. I wasn't that at all. I was just very to myself in my own world with my own interests. So maybe that's what you relate to about my journey. Maybe you've heard me talk about a dark period in my life where I was already a multimillionaire. I'd already achieved everything that everyone would want to achieve. And yet I still went into this dark night of the soul period where honestly, I didn't have a will to live anymore. So for whatever reason you may identify with me, the point is if you're watching this video thus far, it's because you have identified with a lot of the things, or maybe even just one of the things that I've said, the experiences I've lived, and because we share similar values and traits. And because I went through this journey, I didn't need to put on a mask or try to be a character that I'm not to try to appeal to my ideal customer. I just need to come here and create content that is genuine to my experience. And by the way, that's the coolest part of this whole thing is that you can genuinely share your story, your mission, the things that are important to you, your life, your journey, and make millions and millions and millions of dollars in the process of it. Like, how cool is that? But remember, it needs to be authentic and it needs to be genuine to you. There's so many things in my life that now people are like, oh, he does this and this and this. But I was doing this shit before people knew me or before it's cool. Even just the way I dress. I dress like a grandpa. I've always dressed like a grandpa. And yeah, maybe now it's cool, but this shit wasn't cool 3-4 years ago and I was still doing it. I was always being authentic and genuine to myself. And I was able to be authentic, genuine, and true to myself, and in the process make over $100 million in my career. Like sometimes I really have to stop and just pinch myself that we live in this kind of world. And by the way, it's not just me. Another great example of this concept is a girl called Wizard Liz. She's absolutely killed it with her personal brand, and she creates videos with life advice for women. Her personal brand went from 0 to 80,000 subs in the first year, and then went to 1.5 million in the year after, and then now it's sitting at over 6.7 million subscribers a little over 12 months later. And all of the content that she creates is a result of the same content cycle that all starts with conflicts that she experienced in her own life. And then what she does is she records videos explaining how she navigated these conflicts and how other women experiencing these same conflicts can do the same. And by the way, she did so recording everything from her iPhone, from inside her car, or sitting on the edge of her bed, or in her kitchen, or doing her makeup or her hair. Again, it's not about having a fancy setup or being extremely charismatic. It's about creating content that is genuine to your journey. And by the way, these conflicts don't need to be from your personal life necessarily. If we go back to the farmland example, that conflict could be that you want to invest into farmland, but you don't have any money down to do so. And then you go into this internal pursuit to solve this conflict. Maybe you find a specific type of loan that allows you to buy this farmland with no money down and then pay back the loan using the earnings from the farm. So in this case, researching for a solution was your action, and then finding this specific loan type was the result. And with that, you have completed the content cycle, and you now have an extremely powerful piece of content to be created. And that's how it works. Now I actually have some pretty good news for you. You're in conflict right now. You have this running conflict inside of your head as you're watching this, basically saying, but I don't know what to talk about, but I don't have anything to teach, but I don't have a product, or why would anyone listen to me? Well, I'll be honest with you. That's all part of a conflict that you're currently experiencing. And that means that right now you have potential inside of you to create the best type of content there is. Even if you have nothing to teach, even if you don't know what to talk about, as long as you manage to make it through the other side of the cycle, all of those problems will sort themselves out. So all you need to do is make sure you complete the journey. Now, after watching this video, you'll go through an internal pursuit. You're gonna be thinking and considering everything I presented you here today. It's inevitable. And then you're gonna have a choice to make. You either take action on this and go to the results stage, which is when you'll be able to create content that has the potential to build a multi-million-dollar personal brand for yourself, or you stay stuck in this endless cycle of experiencing conflict, going through an internal pursuit and deciding not to take action just to experience the whole thing over and over again without without ever getting to the results stage. And by the way, just so you know, by the end of this event, you're gonna have to make a decision. You either take action or you go back to step 1. Now, after knowing all of that, the final element you need to decide upon is your platform. So where are you actually gonna post your content? Now here, you can really choose whatever platform that you like, because this 3-pillar method works everywhere. It's not just for YouTube. You can use the same format on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever medium you wanna use to start growing your personal brand. I have tested this method and made it work on every single one. So if you wanna create quick short videos, you can focus on Instagram Reels, TikTok, or YouTube Shorts. Take this guy who has an Instagram page that teaches people how to grow their own food. He's grown it to 1.7 million followers and is making hundreds of thousands of dollars from short form content alone. Now, if you want to build a more qualified audience, I would always suggest YouTube, just like I do and many others do. Or if you don't want to show your own face and want to start with writing, you can always use things like Twitter and LinkedIn. Take the example of Ryan Dice, who's been killing it on LinkedIn. His 44,000 follower LinkedIn profile fuels his entire 8-figure business coaching company called Scalable, where he sells coaching programs that range anywhere from $5,000 all the way up to $40,000. Or let's look at Jesper, who grew from $0 to $35,000 a month in 30 days from just 7,000 Twitter followers. All of that to say that this works everywhere. And the reason it works everywhere is because it's based on principles and not just on growth hacks or engagement strategies. You know, all this bullshit you see online with all these videos on the fastest way to grow to 10,000 followers on Instagram in 2024. Remember, we don't care about followers or views here. We are trying to grow a business using a personal brand. So I would much rather have 1,000 people that are actually qualified, interested in what I'm talking about, really with my message and what I'm putting out there, than having 1 million people that don't have the money, aren't interested, and they're just following you without even knowing anything about you, your story, what makes you you. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to use YouTube specific examples because this is the platform that you're watching this right now. It's where you spend most of your time on social media, I assume. And currently, it's still the best platform to attract a qualified audience fast. But since they're principles rather than hacks, you can apply them anywhere. So now let me give you the plan on how you're going to create content that shows that you can help your audience by actually helping them, and thus position you as an attractive authority. Now, this is a plan that you're going to follow to go from 0 to your first 1,000 followers in 84 days, and then to 10,000 followers after that. I call it the minefield farming plan. And there's really 2 stages to it. The first stage is channeling traffic. You see, most people try to create traffic. That is, create a video that will get views from recommendations. And that's actually quite a hard game to play when you're first starting out. And this is honestly the reason 95% of channels never get any traffic. Instead, you should use a smarter approach, channeling traffic that's already out there. And what I mean by that is that there's people out there who are already searching videos for specific topics. And when you focus on creating videos for these users, they'll find your video themselves. This way, you don't have to rely on the algorithm to recommend your video to them on their newsfeed. Because on their newsfeed, you're competing with big guys like myself, Mr. Beast, and all these other big YouTubers. Most importantly, this audience is going to be 10 times more qualified than an audience that simply gets your video randomly recommended, because they are already searching for the topic that you talk about. So how do we create videos that focus on channeling traffic rather than creating traffic? Well, that's where our 4-step minefield farming process comes in. And by the way, this is actually one step of a much larger method that I have called the personal branding blueprint. But anyways, more on that later. So listen, step number 1 is map all of their problems. And the first step here is very simple. All we need to do is map out all of your target customers' major pain points. So let's go back to that farmland example that I mentioned earlier. What would be the main pain points someone who's actually looking to invest into farmland would have? Well, just from the top of my mind here, I can think of a few. Low on cash, don't know how to acquire farmland, don't know how to find land, don't know how to approach farmers. Maybe they don't know the economics of farmland. Maybe they don't understand the process of buying land. Maybe they don't know how the pricing for farmland is defined. Maybe they don't know how loans work. Maybe they don't know how the process of financing works. Maybe they don't know the different types of loans. Now, you don't need to overcomplicate the step. If you don't know what their main pain points are, simply ask ChatGPT. You can ask, what would be the main pain points someone who's looking to invest into farmland would have? And it will come up with the answer for you. Now, what do you do with those pain points? Are those going to be the videos that you create? No. You see, we're going to be a little smarter when it comes to our framing here. What we're going to do on step 2 is to create 2 framing points for each pain point. One is going to be problem-oriented, and one is going to be solution-oriented. For example, how to acquire farmland for beginners. That is solution-oriented. Then watch this if you don't know how to acquire farmland. That is problem-oriented. Or how I'm buying farmland with a no money down loan, which is solution-oriented, and you don't need cash to buy your own farmland. Here's how. That's problem-oriented. So with this simple technique, you're easily going to attract 20 to 50 high potential video ideas. Remember, the reason we're doing this is to optimize for search traffic first. The traffic is already there, you just need to find it. And this is the process of minefield farming your topic. So let me give you a perfect example of this. Miles Beckler. This dude has been doing this strategy for 8 years now. All of his best performing videos are search traffic optimized videos. He never went viral or had a big breakthrough. His average videos get anywhere between 5,000 to 10,000 views, and yet he still makes millions from his YouTube channel, because those are 5 to 10,000 views from a very qualified audience, and these videos keep getting views even years after being published. And if you look at his best performing videos, they are all highly optimized for people searching for specific topics. You have step-by-step affiliate marketing beginner's guide. You have how to advertise on Facebook, how to use Google Trends, free keyword research tools, how to find your niche. You have best ClickFunnels alternatives. He basically minefield farmed all those topics, and each one of these videos is generating him dozens of thousands of dollars from affiliate commissions of the softwares he mentions. Now, step 3 is all about finding your growth topic. So what is that? Listen, once you start getting views from your minefield farming efforts, there's one metric you want to pay attention to, and it's not the number of views. To be honest, the number of views is actually irrelevant. It has nothing to do with how much money you're actually going to make. The only thing that matters is a metric called watch time. That is, for how long someone watches your content for. It's really that simple. It is 10 times more valuable to have a single person watching your content for 25 minutes than it is to have 100 people watching your content for 2 minutes. It's simply disproportional because none of those 100 people who watches your content for 2 minutes are invested into your personal brand. Whereas the one person watching for 25 minutes knows, likes, and trusts you, which are the 3 elements you need to sell them anything. And this is why views doesn't really matter. So when you see a video with higher watch time than usual, pay attention because it is a sign that you're onto something. This is the type of topic you want to create more content on. And the first 2 steps here are going to get you your first 1,000 or your first 10,000 followers, all of which are going to be highly qualified. And by the way, that is huge because you have now showed the algorithm exactly who it should recommend your videos to. So once you have this initial base of 20 to 30 videos created, scaling your personal brand is going to be 10 times easier. And that's when we start creating videos to focus on recommendations. How do we do that? Again, look at watch time. Whatever people are watching the longest, you want to talk about those topics 10 times more often because that is what's going to get recommended. These are going to be your growth topics. And by the way, don't worry about sounding too repetitive here. My most successful YouTube videos are all repetitions of my own past best performing videos. You see, I figured out that my growth topics were millionaire habits and beginner friendly businesses. So I started to create videos around those 2 very specific topics. 7 habits that made me a millionaire by 18, the 3 habits that made me a millionaire by 21, 5 millionaire habits that made me successful, the best online business to start as a beginner, the best beginner-friendly business model, the best way to make $10,000 a month as a beginner. To be honest, these are all different variations of the same growth topics. Now, how do you actually create content that the algorithm recommends? And this is exactly what we're going to cover on step 4. Now, in order to do that, we're going to use proven formats that the algorithm loves to promote. Now, here's where most people fuck it up. They approach it simply with publish and hope. They basically try to guess what's going to work. They publish and hope it works. And if you're doing that, you're never going to succeed. It's that simple. You're basically shooting in the dark, creating random content that you have no idea whether it will perform or not. Listen, you should only publish a video if you have a clear indication that such a video is going to perform well. Every single video that I have published and went on to get millions of views, I knew that it was going to get millions of views. But how did I know that? How do I know if a video is going to perform before we even publish it? Because there's a few things that you can put in place to guarantee that your video has the highest likelihood of performing. I call it proven formats. So listen, videos that get massively recommended by the algorithm all follow one of 7 different formats. Now I'm gonna give you one here that's the easiest to implement and most effective when you're first getting started. And just remember, these formats are based on proven principles. And although I'm using YouTube videos as my example, they work on Reels, LinkedIn posts, tweets. So once again, don't get caught up on the platform here. Concept 1 is what I call brand leveraging. And this concept is very simple. It's way easier to get views by leveraging a personal brand that already has millions of views. And there's 2 ways to do that. The first one is an expose, let's call it. Now, by the way, I don't recommend this and I'll explain why in just a second, but I just said it because I'm sure you've seen many of them on YouTube. Now, clearly it's a proven format that works, but the reason I don't recommend it is because the world's a very small place. A lot of these people that you look up to, or maybe you're making expose videos about, when you succeed big time, a lot of your heroes will become your peers. So if on the way up you slandered people or you made exposés in a distasteful way, you basically burnt that bridge and you've probably burnt the bridge of their entire network. So really, I don't recommend an expose kind of video. What I recommend instead is case studies. So let's take a fitness channel like More Plates, More Dates as an example. He is a dude sitting in his basement talking to a low quality camera with a wall behind him that looks more like a floor. Now, what most people don't know is that he is worth more than $100 million from the supplement brand that he created to his personal brand. So let's take a look at some of his successful videos. The cause of Joe Rogan's bubble gut, the real reason why Conor Murphy lost his gains, Christian Bale's steroid cycle, All he's doing is using someone else's already established personal brand and covering it from a perspective that's interesting for his audience. In this case, he's breaking down their cycles and diet. He built a 9-figure personal brand on the back of this strategy. Another great example is Paddy Galloway. This guy grew his entire personal brand as an expert YouTube consultant doing exactly that, breaking down how famous YouTubers are getting tons of views. This guy is now one of the highest paid YouTube consultants in the world, all due to the same strategy. Now, there's a lot of people making a killing breaking down other people's business strategies. There's actually this 13-year-old kid, Alexi, making $50,000 a month from just a few thousand followers by breaking down how other people are monetizing their personal brands. In fact, if you look at what I'm doing right now in this video, it's actually exactly that. I'm breaking down my own strategies from other creators. That is also a case study format. And again, you can do that for any niche that you like. Now, another format that works incredibly well is ultimate guides. Now, the idea here is very simple. You just create a 30 to 60-minute video tutorial covering all the main points of your specific topic. Now, if you search on YouTube, you're gonna find ultimate guides on everything under the sun: carnivore diet, 3D printing, stock investing, chess, web design, you name it, there's an ultimate tutorial for it. And the people who create these tutorials are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not even millions of dollars a year off the back of just those videos alone, just as long as they know how to monetize their audience, which once again, I'm going to show you exactly how to do on episode 3. And these videos don't necessarily need to be tailored for beginners, by the way. For example, this guy sells business automations on a 5,000 subscriber channel, meaning you don't need to have an existing personal brand for this format to pop off for you. In fact, you'll notice the majority of those videos end up getting 2, 5, 10, even 20 times more views than the amount of total subscribers on the channel that published it. So it's a format that's very likely to get you a lot of views, even if you don't have a subscriber base yet. Now imagine you got 100,000 views on your video in a month, just like the AI guy did. I mean, what would that do to your personal brand? Just so you understand the scaling potential here, think back to the example I used in episode 1. With only 180,000 views on one video, I put $2 million in my pocket. And this is one of the best formats there is to get there fast. And this is also the best type of content to create sales, because it sells without selling. Remember the 3 ways of providing value I mentioned earlier: documentation, opening someone's eyes, and education. With this format, we're combining 2 of them: opening someone's eyes to a new opportunity and education. And that is why this format works so well, especially if you have a method on what you teach. Because in a video like this, you can lay out your unique method and walk people through it. So by the end, they will inevitably want to learn more about it. And there's only one source they can learn it from: you. Because this is your unique method. And this is the difference from individuals who make a few thousands of dollars with their personal brand to the ones that make millions. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here, because I'm going to talk more about creating your own method in episode 3, where I'm going to cover exactly how to monetize your micro personal brand. For now, let's get back to the proven concepts. What I've just shown you now are 2 proven concepts out of 7. I have the complete list inside of the free resource that you're going to get at the end of this episode. With this, you would have now built an exponential growth machine. You have consistent search traffic coming to your videos. Then you're now optimizing for the type of content that YouTube likes to recommend. Your search traffic will consistently fuel this growth, which will make YouTube recommend your videos to even more people. And with more people watching, your videos get recommended even further. And it really becomes a growth machine. You see, when you implement this method, your personal brand will stop growing linearly and start growing exponentially. When you take this approach, you'll almost force the algorithm to recommend your videos. And that's exactly how I was able to go from growing 10,000 subscribers in a year to growing millions within 12 months. And for you to do the same, there's only one piece of the equation missing. You see, you now have content. You have a plan to create a growth machine for your content. So you're only missing one pillar, and that is packaging. And for this one, you need to understand how growth works on any social media platform. You've probably asked yourself, how do you start a personal brand with 0 followers? Will anyone actually see my content? And most people, when they try to publish their first piece of content at 0 followers, they end up getting 0 views. You see, there's something huge that everyone misses. They think their videos are getting 0 views because it's not getting recommended at all. They think YouTube or Instagram or Twitter is simply not showing that video to anyone. But 9 out of 10 times, that is not actually the case. The truth is, the platforms naturally promote your content, even when you have no followers. And you can actually check this by taking a look at the amount of impressions instead of the amount of views. You see, although you're getting impressions, you're not getting any views, meaning the algorithm is showing it to people. It's just that no one's clicking on it. But how does that happen? You see, the algorithm of all social media platforms works exactly the same way, which is through something called fractional exposure. The algorithm shows your content to a small cohort of people, and then it evaluates 2 very specific metrics of your video on that small cohort, which is click-through rate and retention. That is how many people click on your videos out of everyone who got it recommended, and for how long do they watch your videos. And then it makes a decision based on those 2 metrics. If the content performs well, it shows it to more people. If it doesn't, it shows it to less and less people. And it keeps doing that over and over. And each step is exponential. The more people click and the longer they watch it for, the more the video gets recommended. And the less people click and the shorter they watch, the less people that it gets recommended to, until eventually no one even gets recommended anymore. And that's why a simple 20% increase in CTR or retention won't simply just add 20% more views. And by the way, when I say 20% increase in CTR, I mean, like, for example, it goes from 5% to 6%. No, it goes from 5% to 25%. So actual 20% increase in the delta. And just that small increase alone will lead to 2, 3, 5, even 10 times more views to the video, because it will make the video go through way more steps of fractional exposure, and each step is exponential. And that's why I say you only really need one great video, because one great video will perform for a lifetime. That's what happened with me. I made one VSL applying all the principles, literally every single thing I'm showing you here today, and everything that I'm giving you for free in the resources that I'm gonna be sending after this video. I built that VSL applying all of those strategies, got almost 10 million views, and put $20 million in my pocket net directly from that video, and still got paid like $250,000 for it. So I literally had a negative cost per acquisition. I got paid $250,000 to make $20 million. When you apply what I'm talking about here, this is the sort of shit that is possible. And by the way, this is the sort of shit that none of your favorite online gurus, influencers, personalities, none of them are talking about it. And you know why I can talk about it, expose it, give you all these free resources, tools, all this stuff? I'm not selling you a course on this, so I can just be 100% honest with you guys here. And by the way, it's not just me that had these sort of results. You know, this happened with Peter McKinnon, it happened with Veritasium, and that's why you're only one video away from having a multi-million-dollar personal brand. Now, this also means that if you fail to get people to click on that first cohort, the likelihood of your video getting no views is huge, which is why I keep telling you, if you're trying to guess the packaging of your video when you're first starting out, you're gonna fail. And let me actually give you a real life example of this. Let's go back to that basketball video that Veritasium created. So he originally published it with the title, Strange Applications of the Magnus Effect, and with this thumbnail, and it barely got any views. And then what happened was someone else downloaded this video from his channel, republished it on their channel, and instead named it Throwing Basketball Off a Dam with this thumbnail. And that one video got 9 million views the first week of publishing. Imagine having a video that gets 9 million views in 1 week. And this proves that it doesn't matter how good your content is or how valuable the advice is that you're giving away. If you don't have the right packaging, your video will not get views. And if you're trying to come up with packaging on your own when you're first getting started without using, once again, proven strategies, then you are bound to fail. As I mentioned earlier, getting any video to perform on any social media platform is all about CTR and retention. People only care about these two metrics, and there's a very specific way that your favorite influencers are packaging their videos to optimize for maximum CTR. And I lay down these structures in detail on the personal brand blueprint, which is where I'm borrowing all of these pillars and concepts from. Now, if I was to break down all the concepts here, it would take me a lot more hours to explain it. But for now, all you need to understand is that when you package videos following these proven structures, they naturally have higher CTRs. So what I've done is I've actually added 30 of my favorite packaging structures to the resource, the free resource you're gonna get at the end of this video. What's included is 15 title templates that you can use regardless of your niche, plus 15 thumbnail templates that you can very easily edit and use for your own videos. This way, you will never have to post a video that is not based on packaging that has been tested and proven to work by the market. Now, there's only one variable left here, and that is actually retention. And to be honest, 80% of retention just boils down to the first 30 seconds of your video. This is what people call the hook of the video. You see, if people click away, if they churn on the hook, everything else you talk about doesn't really matter. And that's true for YouTube videos, for Reels, for tweets, for LinkedIn posts. Now, if your viewers are still watching after the first 30 seconds, you have managed to hook them in, and you've done enough to get most of them to watch for the rest of the video until the very end. And that's actually why when you look at retention curves, you're gonna notice that the biggest drop-off happens in the first 30 seconds of a video. And this is usually what defines if the video is gonna be a high performer or one that gets no views. Now, writing high-performing and engaging hooks is an entire science in of itself. So to be honest, you're better off just sticking to proven hooks that have been tested across different industries and worked in every single one of them, instead of just trying to come up with them on your own. And that's exactly why you see a lot of videos with millions of views starting with the exact same hooks, because this is the easiest way to guarantee that your content will perform, and it will also make the scripting of it so much easier, because you're basically getting to fill in the blanks in a pre-written script instead of having to start fresh every time. And that's actually why I've added a bunch of hooks that you can use inside of the free resource accompanying this video. By the way, I'm giving you guys so much free shit here. I'm sure you thought this was going to be another one of those events where I just give you high-level topics and don't really give you anything tangible to work off of. And honestly, it gives me great pleasure of doing so. So if you're enjoying the event so far, and also you appreciate all the free resources that I created for you guys, I'm literally watching this video live on YouTube Premiere with you guys right now. So if you're enjoying it, just drop a 1 in the live chat, because you'll probably put a smile on my face, and I put a lot of time and effort into this. So I genuinely hope that this is really useful to you guys. So with this, we really removed all the guesswork from the process of starting a personal brand. And I know it might sound way too simple to be true, but if you follow the steps I laid out in this video, you can kickstart your personal brand and get your first 1,000 or first few thousand followers within a few weeks from today. All right, So you have the method, you have the content, the plan, the packaging. Again, this is the first phase of a bigger method that I've developed over the last 9 years, creating my personal brand from scratch and scaling it from 6 to 7 to 8 to even 9 figures. I call it the personal branding blueprint. And the first phase of this method is in kickstarting your personal brand. And that's what you just learned. Don't worry about all the technicalities. You can get infinitely more complex with this, but making it work is actually extremely simple. All you need is the 3 pillars we just discussed, which is content, plan, and packaging. You don't need any other fancy tutorials as long as you follow this method. And that is all you need to create $1 million personal brand. Watching a bunch of unorganized free content on YouTube is just gonna get you overwhelmed. So that is why we follow a method in the first place. Now, the second phase of this method is on monetizing your personal brand. And that is what I'm gonna show you on episode 3. I'm gonna share my unique method on how to monetize your personal brand so that way you can make 6 figures with as little as 10,000 followers. With this, you're gonna shift from I have nothing to sell to give me a computer with internet access and I will make millions. This strategy can be used by anyone to sell anything online. Then I'm gonna show you how to make your first sale online, even if you have no audience, and then to go from first sale to consistent sale. And by the way, this is the same method I used in my career to sell over $108 million through my own personal brand. Now, I actually have a very important flight to catch right now. But before I get to my final destination of where I'm flying to, I actually wanna take you on this journey with me. So make sure you don't miss out on episode 3 on Friday at 4 p.m. EST. Because on that episode, I'm actually gonna take you inside this $100 million Boeing business jet that I'm flying all the way to my location. Because normally when I fly private, I take some nice 8 to 14 seater jets because normally it's just 3-4 of us. So anyways, I'm gonna take you along with me and I'm gonna reveal to you the best ways to monetize your personal brand in 2025. So that way you can already start making money with what you learned today in just a few weeks from now. So with that being said, let's head to the airport.